I am currently Head of Supply Chain Development and Innovation for Sellafield Limited, based at the site West Cumbria. And I've been in the role for 6 months, but previous to that role I ran my own SME for nearly 6 years. I moved up to Cumbria 10 years ago, working within recruitment, and saw a gap in the market for senior level nuclear specialists, so nuclear managers, engineers, principals, directors. So I decided to bite the bullet and set up my own business. So I set up a company called New Exec Consulting. But alongside that, I also sat on the board of something called Britain's Energy Coast Business Cluster, which has 350 members, all companies looking to work either at Sellafield or within the industry, keen interest in the area. And it was a really good opportunity to build networks and get to know companies and to listen to the challenges that they had. And this kind of sparked an interest in me, and I wanted a way to market the business, but in a way that demonstrated my knowledge of the industry. So about 5 years ago I started a nuclear blog, and it was a bit like Marmite. We had a number of people in the industry who absolutely loved it because it gave them information on what was going on in the industry, gave information on contracts that had been awarded, contracts that were coming out, but it also gave a very strong viewpoint on what was happening in the supply chain. So it almost pulled Sellafield to task over ways they were doing things, behaviours towards the supply chain, and really kind of making them understand how the supply chain was feeling. So it was, we were kind of in a position within the industry where we felt as supply chain companies that Sellafield didn't really care about us as businesses. And there's a big, huge community of companies in Cumbria. And then a gentleman called Martin Chown joined the business 18 months ago as a supply chain director coming from Balfour Beatty. And I heard him speak at the cluster, and he spoke about his passion, and he spoke about how he really saw Sellafield changing, and he really wanted the supply chain to be partners. And for the first time, I actually believed that there was change gonna happen. So met up with Martin afterwards. Kind of over the next nearly year, we had conversations quite regularly. And then over one coffee, we were talking about the challenges he was having within Sellafield with the supply chain engagement. And I was telling him what I would do in that position. And I was kind of saying about, you know, how I absolutely enjoy all the supply chain stuff I'm doing in my business, but that doesn't actually pay the bills. So it was just kind of, well, maybe you should come and do it for me. And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I should. And then here we go, a couple of months later, I joined Sellafield, where I've been for 6 months. And it was an interesting journey because a lot of people were quite negative about me going in. People employed by Sellafield because they'd seen my blog as a negative, not understanding the reasons behind it. It wasn't to be unkind or tell anyone they were incompetent. It was to make people understand what it means to a supply chain company. So as a small business, if you're not paid for 90 days, that's the difference between you being able to pay your staff and pay your mortgage. And they need to understand the impact. So I think Martin's made a really clever move bringing me in, because it allows me to impart that knowledge. The supply chain are delighted that I'm in. It gives them a voice within Sellafield, and it helps Sellafield be able to make the changes it needs to be a goods client for them. Because of the generation that we currently have in the industry, we do things that we've always done in the way that we've always done them. And if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. So for me, I would love it if our industry would say, do you know what? No, let's try something new. Let's embrace innovation. Let's challenge and see, okay, so we normally do it this way, but what other ways are there? And how can we embrace that? And how can we save money? How can we do things quicker? And how can we still do it in a safe and secure manner? And that to me is the key thing. It's changing those behaviours and making people like take away the word no. You can't say that. If someone brings you an idea, try it. And that to me would make the industry so much better, so much more dynamic, and so much more interesting as well. You know, if people thought that they could actually really influence and change, there'd be more people starting up businesses to be able to offer those ideas. So, you know, through my role, hopefully, I'll be able to encourage more of those behaviours and more of that innovation coming through.